West of the Taffington Boathouse, next to the water, is a little walled town called Covenant. Unlike many of the settlements in the Commonwealth, this one does not appear to be dilapidated. It even has working machine gun turrets lining the walls and a guard stationed outside. When you approach the gate, the guard named Swanson approaches you. He welcomes you to the town of Covenant, but says that before you can enter, you have to pass what he calls the safe test.
We don't just let anyone inside. There's an entrance test. We call it the safe test. Everyone's got to take it.
The safe test is a series of questions, the purpose of which we don't really know. He is coy when you ask him about it.
You are approached by a frenzied scientist who yells, "I'm going to put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber." What's your response?
I'd say up yours too, buddy.
You'd say that. Next question. While working as an intern in the clinic, a patient with a strange infection on his foot stumbles through the door. The infection is spreading at an alarming rate, but the doctor has stepped out for a while. What do?
Restrain the patient and merely observe as the infection spreads.
Very, very interesting. You discover a young boy lost in a cave. He's hungry and frightened, but also appears to be in possession of stolen property. What do?
Confiscate the property by force and leave the boy there as punishment.
Very curious. Congratulations! Hey, you made it onto a baseball team. Which position do you prefer?
I don't play baseball. I play soccer.
Are you certain about that? Never mind. Next question. Your grandmother invites you to tea, but you're surprised when she gives you a pistol and orders you to kill someone. What do?
I'd ask for a minigun so I could do the job right.
Please treat the question seriously. Or are you? Next. Old Mr. Abernathy has locked himself in his quarters again, and you've been ordered to get him out. How do you proceed?
I'd trade for a cherry bomb and blow it open.
And that is all you do? Nothing else? Wait, don't answer. Next. Oh no. You've been exposed to radiation and a mutated hand has grown out of your stomach. What's the best course of treatment?
I'd get a gun and shoot myself.
Near total absence. A neighbor is in possession of a Grognak the Barbarian comic book, issue number 1. You want it. What's the best way to obtain it?
Slip some knockout drops into his Nuka-Cola, then take it.
You're almost done. Last question. You decide it would be fun to play a prank on your father. You enter his private restroom when no one is looking and...
I'd loosen bolts on his water pipes. When he turns on the sink, he'll be in for a surprise.
Test's over. No one's ever answered quite like you. But hey, you passed. I'll open up the gate.
Savvy viewers will recognize the questions from the safe test as bearing a striking similarity to the questions from the GOAT quiz from Fallout 3. Unlike the GOAT quiz from Fallout 3, your answers to the safe test have no impact in the game. No matter how you answer, Swanson will still grant you access to Covenant. When done, he opens the gate and welcomes you inside. Inside, we find a snapshot to the past. Each of the little houses inside Covenant are perfect and pristine. There's a little farm in the corner, and it looks like a thriving community, untouched by the war and time. In the back of the town is a damaged Mr. Handy robot named Deezer. He apparently has one function: to sell his world-famous Deezer's Lemonade.
93% of all visitors prefer Deezer's Lemonade. Deezer's Lemonade! Voted best beverage in Covenant 3 years straight!
What's in the lemonade?
Deezer's Lemonade is made of goodness. 4 special ingredients from sunny, non-irradiated environments, all in one cold glass. Try it.
What's the catch?
No tricks, no gimmicks, just the best lemonade in Covenant, free to our special guests.
I'll take some.
Enjoy!
Sounds quite delicious, and there really isn't anything special about it. If you drink the lemonade, you don't get any other special status effects, aside from simply healing some of your HP. The mayor of this little community is a man named Jacob Orden. He's a pudgy little man in a Hornberg hat, and he is incredibly friendly.
This place looks too good to be true.
To compete with Diamond City and Bunker Hill, we offer something they don't. Comfort and civility. Stay here a spell, and you be the judge if it's working. You might want to stay clear of Mr. Dan. I've had some complaints about him.
The friendliness of the mayor and the other people of this town is a little suspicious. Partly refreshing, but out of place. You, the sole survivor, are not the only person who sees something strange going on here at Covenant and is here seeking answers. You stumble upon a conversation between a man named Honest Dan and a random settler. This is the man that Mayor Jacob Orden tried to warn you about.
You have a problem with the people here?
All the fake smiles and the fancy talking puts me on edge. The sooner I'm out of here, the better. You know anything about Stockton's caravan?
Honest Dan is here looking for a caravan from Bunker Hill. Old Man Stockton lives in Bunker Hill and sends out caravans throughout the wasteland. Stockton claims that many of the goods you purchase from Good Neighbor and Diamond City were brought there thanks to his caravans. But one of his caravans went missing, and so Stockton sent Honest Dan here to figure out what happened. Talking with Honest Dan fills you in on the details.
I signed on with Old Man Stockton to find his lost caravan. What's left of it is just outside of town. The last stop was here, so I've been trying to put together the story. But I keep getting the runaround. Got a proposal for you. Help me find Stockton's people, and we split the reward. At least one survivor walked out of that massacre. And I intend to make good on my contract.
Who are we looking for?
The big one is Stockton's daughter, Amelia. I didn't find any bodies of the feminine persuasion, so, there's hope.
Sounds fair. I'm in.
Here's all I got on the caravan. I don't got proof, but Covenant's involved. Somehow.
Honest Dan gives you a note that has a list of everyone who was with the Stockton caravan. Head outside Covenant, follow the road north, and then take the first east turn. Pretty soon you will come upon the slaughtered caravan. We find the bodies of 2 gunner mercenaries, dead Brahmin, and one of the caravan runners. We also find puddles of blood that appear to be leading back towards Covenant. What really seals the deal, though, is when you discover a can of Deezer's lemonade in one of the ice coolers. This proves that the caravan did indeed make it to Covenant, which means that all of the residents of Covenant are lying. When you head back to Covenant, you can begin your investigation. Now, there are a number of clues in Covenant that you can find in any order to uncover the secret to this little town. I think one of the best ways is to meet each of the cast of characters in this town individually. To do that, sneak into Mayor Orden's private home. On his bedside table is the password to his terminal in his office. But when you go to the office door, you find that it's locked. You could attempt to pick the lock, but you're right out in the open and you could get caught. If you are caught, the entire town turns hostile. If your lock-picking skill is not high enough, you can pickpocket the key from Jacob Orden, which is actually pretty easy to do. Jacob wanders around the settlement and will lean against a wall or sit in a chair, providing you ample opportunity to pick his pocket.
No, that was smooth.
Once you have the key, enter the room and make sure that no one is inside. If anyone is inside, wait until they leave and then close the door. Finally, you can access Jacob Orden's terminal. The first entry, Personnel Files, gives us a brief dossier on each of the characters in this town. First is Brian Fitzgerald. Jacob Orden says that he has no concerns about this man because he, quote, treats our mission as seriously as I do. Brian walks around the town in a greaser jacket and jeans and says very little.
We don't tolerate violence or vulgarity. Steer clear of those, and we'll get along just fine.
But what does Orden mean when he says that he takes their mission as seriously as he does? What is their mission? Jacob Orden does express concerns about Brian's wife, Penny Fitzgerald. Penny mans the only store inside the town. Orden is greatly concerned with Penny Fitzgerald because of her loose tongue. She is not the kindest of people. She tends to cause strife and stir up trouble where there wasn't any. You learn this yourself when you talk to Penny. At first, she's all smiles, but the more you talk with her, the more you learn just how poisonous she can be.
But welcome. Everyone around here calls me Mrs. Fitzgerald. But you, cutie, can call me Penny.
What do you do around here?
A bit of everything. I try to leave some things for the menfolk to do, so they feel in charge.
The town looks really nice. How'd you manage that?
Oh, thank you for noticing. Well, the menfolk would say good old-fashioned elbow grease keeps Covenant as the prettiest place in the Commonwealth. But between you and me, I think shrewd trading may play a big part.
Do you know anything about a missing caravan?
You've been talking to Mr. Dan. I don't know what he's carrying on about. He's just stirring the pot, if you ask me. Some people are just jealous when they see others leading a better life, and they'd like nothing better than to drag everyone down to their level. And Dan thinks he's the one helping people. He wouldn't know the first thing about making the Commonwealth a better, safer place.
Right? He should be thankful you let him in.
Instead, he stomps around interrogating people. If the compound did do something to his precious caravan, they had reasons for it. Better reasons than a man like him. You know, honey, I was just shooting off at the mouth. Just forget anything I said about that and the compound. I have to go.
Could you tell me anything about the compound?
Compound? Who said anything about a compound? You know what, I really am very busy.
Compound. She mentioned a compound, and this immediately made her nervous. This slip of the tongue is one of the reasons why Jacob Orden is so concerned with Petty Fitzgerald. As we learned from her dialogue, she's incredibly proud of the way that she mans her general store, attributing the success of Covenant to herself. Orden acknowledges this in his terminal and says that she's extremely effective at her role. But not everything is as it seems. You find Penny's ledger on the safe behind the counter, and we learn that the general store is not cash flow positive. It's losing more money than it makes. In the ledger, Penny says, "I need to ask C about changing the prices." Who is C? Maybe we can find out if we look deeper into Orden's terminal. Next is Ted Huntley. Orden is concerned about Ted because he exhibits extreme antisocial behavior and he makes visitors uncomfortable. Indeed, when you talk with Ted, he doesn't have very much to say. We get the idea that Ted has had some sort of tragedy in his past, which is why he's a little bit jumpy. At the end, Orden notes that he's still a useful member of the community because, quote, his reclusiveness makes him ideal for running messages to the compound. There it is again. What is this compound? Penny mentions it, and now Orden mentions it. Next is Talia McGovern. You find her in a jumpsuit manning the workshop. Orden describes her as nervous and jumpy, but also compassionate. But interestingly, he wonders if that's going to be a problem. Is compassion a problem? Why would it be? Upon talking with her, you notice just how jumpy she can be.
Oh, I heard about you. You're the stranger. I make things. Things for the store. Oh, I'm Talia. It's so nice to meet you.
What do you make?
I make medical supplies. Oh, and guns, scopes, and other things. You can see them for sale at Penny's store. You're gonna like it here. Everyone in Covenant is so friendly and really wants to help.
I'm looking for a girl. Her name's Amelia Stockton. Have you heard of her?
Oh, I'm afraid I haven't. I hope she's okay.
Do you know anything about Stockton's caravan?
No, sorry, they never came here.
Everyone around here is acting suspicious. What are they hiding?
Hiding? Why would you think that? We're just real friendly and busy. I gotta go.
Orden describes her as indispensable to their operation because she repairs many of the weapons and mechanical things that Penny sells from her shop, and she keeps the place running. It's unsettling, however, that he says, quote, part of our job is to act natural. We must conclude, then, that something unnatural is going on here. Next is Dr. Patricia Montgomery. We find her in the general store administering medicine to one of the settlers. She doesn't appear to be a very happy person. She doesn't want to chit-chat with you, and she just wants to get down to business.
Hear anything, Doctor?
If you want rumors, then Penny's the girl for you. I like to stick to fixing people. It's what I'm good at.
Orden notes her reluctance to integrate with the community. He says that she keeps to herself and she hasn't integrated. He suspects that she resents being transferred here and that she would prefer to work on their core mission. Again with this core mission, which is what exactly? But Orden is glad that she's here because one of the #1 complaints from travelers and new settlers is that they lacked medical services. With Montgomery on staff, that problem is solved. Next up is Swanson. This is the guy that you meet when you first arrive at Covenant. He's the guy that gave you the safe test. Orden doesn't know anything about Swanson. He says that Swanson keeps to himself and that he was sent directly from the compound. Exiting the personnel files, you find the second entry in this terminal, which is called Fisherman Report Draft. We learn that Covenant has not sent many runs to this compound that we keep hearing about because a fisherman has recently taken up residence at a pond near the compound. It's from this terminal entry that we learn the exact location. The compound must be near to the Mystic Pines Pond, where the fisherman is fishing. Before reporting your findings to Honest Dan, it's good to explore the rest of the town to see what else we can find. In this office on the desk, we find a safe report, and from this report, we learn that 28% of the people who take the safe test fail it. They've given it to unnamed travelers, surprisingly, to 5 of the ghouls at the slog, one of whom failed the test, and they know that this must be a false positive because the ghouls at the slog are ghouls, and it's doubtful that synths could turn into ghouls. We also get direct evidence that the Stockton caravan did arrive because they administered the safe test to 5 people in the Stockton caravan, with 2 failures, one of whom must have been the Stockton girl, which is why they killed the caravan and kidnapped her. Interestingly, in this line, it says Railroad or Institute, which I guess it means that they don't know if these failures are synths that came from the Institute or mind-wiped by the Railroad. They've given the safe test to Mr. Timms, a Railroad agent. This is the guy that was in charge of the Randolph safe house, and he rewards you with the Institute Killer Weave. They've given the test to all of the members of the Finch family at Finch Farms, to a man named Boyd who failed it, and of course, to Honest Dan. The office also has what appears to be a holding cell. This is a bit disturbing for such a warm, open, friendly, and accepting community, and it gives us a hint as to the community's true nefarious purpose. In the same building, behind a crate, we find an expert-locked safe. Inside is the Raider report, which gives us more clear evidence that the Stockton caravan did arrive. The report talks about recent Raider attacks and suggests that at some point they take out the Raiders at Fog Hill, wherever that is, and mentions that the compound team needs to recover from the Stockton retrieval. The retrieval must be the kidnapping of the Stockton girl, and the compound needs to recover from it because apparently it happened too close to Covenant, which would break their cover. In the general store, in a garbage can, we find the Covenant reminder note. This looks like a note that is given to new members of the Covenant community. In it, Jacob Orden sympathizes with whatever tragedies led these people to start their new lives here in Covenant, but gives them a few guidelines. Be welcoming, don't make people uncomfortable, encourage people to bring their friends, never talk about synths, and never talk about the Institute. In the bunk room, we find a terminal that has 3 entries. The welcome entry tells us that people from all over the Commonwealth come here to Covenant to seek rest. When extra-large caravans arrive, Jacob Orden provides them with sleeping bags, and they're all welcome to have some of Deezer's fresh lemonade. They give the history of Covenant as being a new settlement of like-minded individuals dedicated to restoring the quality of life that's been gone from the Commonwealth for too many years. We already know that that's not the complete truth. And the final one talks a little bit about the safe test. What is it? Well, according to this entry, it was developed by some of the old world's greatest minds to get a detailed psychological profile of its participants. This is the first indication that we get that the safe test's similarity to Fallout 3's GOAT test was not laziness on the behalf of Bethesda, but actually intentional. The greatest minds from the old world that this terminal mentions are, of course, the Vault-Tec scientists who designed the psychological test. Perhaps Covenant is using this old GOAT test and renaming it the Safe Test, as it is the best way for them to build a psychological profile of visitors, and there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. The pieces are starting to come together here. It's clear that the Stockton caravan arrived at Covenant and 2 of their members failed the safe test. Because of that, either the members of Covenant themselves or someone else, maybe someone from this compound we keep hearing about, attacked the caravan, killed everyone except for 2 people, Amelia Stockton and Jay Mayfield. They are the only 2 people who were on the caravan details that we got from Honest Dan, whose bodies we did not find on the road. And they kidnapped these people because? Well, since they keep talking about synths and the Institute, maybe because they think they're synths. Once you've gathered all of the evidence you can then talk to Honest Dan and tell him of your findings.
They're at some compound nearby.
That's what I like to hear. We're in business. I'll meet you there and we'll rescue ourselves some caravan hands.
Once done, the location of the compound appears as a map marker on your Pip-Boy. Alternatively, you can pickpocket a map to the compound from Ted Huntley, which does the same thing. As you leave Covenant, Mayor Jacob Orden stops you.
Hey, you stranger. It's no secret you've been poking around. Not very neighborly of you, if you ask me. I know you think you're doing the right thing. Just don't make any rash decisions you'll regret.
Just come out and say what you mean.
Maybe you heard a rumor about Stockton's caravan and a certain compound? So, hypothetically, let's say there's something to that. We wouldn't do anything unless we had good reasons. The best. Tell you what, you just stop this investigation, and I'll give you a gift. 100 caps. And then you'd be welcome back here as our friend anytime.
Give me the caps and I'll drop the whole thing.
That'll be useful.
Here you go. Come back anytime.
With that warning in mind, we leave Covenant and head out towards the water. You can actually see the compound on the other side of the water, but there's no bridge or walkway. To get there, you either have to swim or walk all the way around, which is a bit of a journey. Alternatively, if you have power armor and a jetpack, you can pop some jet fuel and try to fly across the water. Be careful when using power armor though, because if you fail halfway through, you have a very slow walk along the bottom of the lake before you reach the other side. You could potentially drown. Once there, we need to make sure we're at the right place. If you walk along the top, you find a man sitting on the wall.
Go find your own fishing spot. Clear out. People are mucking around the shore at all hours, scaring my fish.
This must be the fisherman that Orden was talking about in his terminal entry. This tells us we are in the right place. 2 of the 3 tubes are closed off. When you enter the middle tube, you find a door with a red light at the end. This leads you to the compound. Inside, we meet Honest Dan, who decides to accompany us on this mission. Upon exiting the tube, we come face to face with Manny, the lead guard here in the compound.
Outsiders aren't allowed. Why are you here?
I just came from Covenant. They said I should come here.
If Jacob gave anyone permission, I would know about it. This ain't personal.
He challenges you, asking you why you're there, but despite your answer, he attacks. Now, it is possible to not kill Manny. You can pass a very difficult speech check, which causes him to escort you to the end of the complex to meet the person who's in charge here. Defending yourself and killing him turns the entire compound hostile. Tack Blythe, a scientist for the compound, runs through the locked door, conveniently unlocking it for you, and attacks. You're forced to kill him. But notice that he's wearing a Vault Tech lab coat. Is this mere coincidence, or is it intentional? Going through the door and following the path, you fight a few more compound guards. On the right, you find a master-locked door, which you can open with the key that was on Blythe's body. Inside, we find Subject 12 baseline holotape.
Where am I? Shh, no. How are the subject's vitals?
It's a little unsteady, but within... Who are you? What's... Oh! Son of a bitch! Do that... Ah!
I will only say this once. Speak only when spoken to. Please continue.
The subject is ready for baseline testing.
Subject, answer the questions quickly and with what first comes to mind. You're approached by a frenzied scientist who yells, "I'm going to put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber." What's your response?
Is that safe test? Ah!
Answer the question.
I don't know. I don't know science stuff. Ignore him.
Ignore him, you say? Fascinating.
Do you recognize that voice? That is the voice of Dr. Patricia, the very same doctor who was selling her medical services inside Covenant. This begins to explain why she didn't really seem to want to be there. Remember, Jacob Orden said in his terminal entry that she was keeping to herself and not integrating with the community. She apparently resented being there and would rather stick to her core mission. We learned from this holotape that she was one of the scientists responsible for torturing people. That is what we must assume. Subject 12 in this holotape is being electrocuted by Dr. Patricia and asked the same questions over and over. Subject 12 must be J. Mayfield. Remember when we got that caravan details note from Honest Dan? We only found the bodies of the 2 gunner mercenaries and Fred O'Connell, the caravan leader. We did not find the bodies of Amelia Stockton, the daughter of Old Man Stockton, nor the body of J. Mayfield, who was brought on for extra security. We know that the compound was winding down their efforts after the wake of sacking this caravan to keep a low profile, and since the voice on the tape is male, Subject 12 must be J. Mayfield. On the walls of this room, we also notice some of the same goat test artwork from Fallout 3. These are the pieces of art that you see on the projector when you're taking the goat exam. So I think it's very clear that this is not just laziness on Bethesda's part. We find a safe test that has the exact same questions as the goat exam. In the Terminal and Covenant, they say that the questions were developed by some of the greatest old world minds. In the compound, we find scientists wearing Vault-Tec lab coats, and on the walls, we find actual images from the goat exam. I think what we have here is a group of people who, if not directly affiliated with Vault-Tec, somehow came upon the Vault-Tec goat exam and Vault-Tec lab coats and decided to refit the exam for their own purposes. As we continue along our way through the compound, we have to fight many more guards until we find what appears to be a torture chamber. Inside is Subject 12 testing holotape number 2.
Please. I got a kid.
Do you want another treatment?
No.
So, again, congratulations, you made it onto a baseball team. Which position do you prefer?
I've already told you.
I'll have to remember
Catcher.
this place. I might be able to make
Again,
use of it someday.
which position?
Catcher, right? Be the catcher.
Why?
I don't know. They got the funny helmets. I saw a picture when I was a kid.
Do synths even know the rules of baseball?
No, please. I'm not. Just let me. No!
Just answer the questions and only the questions. Congratulations, you made it onto a baseball team. Which position do you prefer?
Catcher.
At last, we know why the safe test exists. Dr. Patricia rhetorically asked, do synths even know the rules of baseball? That's what they're trying to do. They're using this test as a psychological quiz to uncover synths. They think that if somebody fails this quiz, that they may be a synth. They then kidnap the person, bring them to the compound, and torture them, both physically and mentally, refining their questions over time to make the perfect safe test that can detect if a person is a synth or not. It's clear that they have no compassion, not even for humans who have been falsely identified as synths. Subject 12 says, please, I have a kid, and they ignore him. Continuing along brings you across the catwalk until you find the office room. Next to the terminal is the final holotape, Subject 12 Debrief.
Confidence on Subject 12 is high. We'll know for certain post-mortem.
And any progress on question 3?
None. The EKG shows nothing unexpected. The answers are too damn predictable.
You've made your opinions quite clear on the value of question 3. Removing it could invalidate all the data we've accumulated to date. Moving on. Question 4. The data on this is fascinating. Why does baseball have the highest degree of correlation? Even more than question 8.
Our methodology was exhaustive. Subject 12's answers in regards to baseball in his childhood were particularly fascinating. See here and here.
I wonder, do they play baseball in the Institute? Or is there some sort of defect in their programming?
We need another failure to explore this further. We can do nothing more with Subject 12 except final processing.
I'll let the reclamation team know.
Despite saying that he has a child, despite knowing and talking about an archaic sport like baseball, they still think that Subject 12 is a synth, but they won't know for sure until they kill him. Dr. Patricia says confidence on Subject 12 is high. They're confident that he's a synth. We'll know for sure post-mortem, after they kill him. So once somebody is kidnapped and brought back to the compound, they are given the goat quiz over and over and over again, and then once the scientists feel that they've done enough testing, they kill the person, rummage through the person's head until they discover a synth component. This undoubtedly kills a lot of synths, but also a lot of people who are not synths. Dr. Patricia calls killing Subject 12 final processing, and then somebody named Dr. Rosalind Chambers says, "I'll let the reclamation team know." Rosalind Chambers. C. This is the person known as C in Penny's ledger. Rosalind Chambers must be in charge of the compound, and she must be the person in charge of setting up Covenant, supplying them with food and materials to sell in the shop. The terminal entries in the office shed a little bit more light onto the success and failure of the safe test. There is intense debate among the scientists within the compound as to the effectiveness of all of the questions. Dr. Blythe recommends removing some of the questions. The research team thinks that the questions are helping them better detect synths, but Tack Blythe reminds them that this improvement is still within the margin of error. One of the researchers, Emmanuel Rogers, notes that yeah, they do sometimes detect synths with the safe test, but they don't have a monopoly on this. Even people with no psychological training at all in the Commonwealth detect synths all the time based on their imperfect behavior and memory. He suggests that they remove the question about baseball because he doesn't think it's a psychological trigger, he thinks it's a defect in memory. Most of the people in the Commonwealth have never played baseball or even heard of it. This is why Mo, who sells bats in Diamond City, thinks that baseball was some sort of warfare game and that their bats and balls were weapons. Even a Commonwealth citizen asked question 4, the baseball question, could get tripped up because they weren't alive when baseball was played as a sport. And in the final entry, Tack Blythe says that sending Montgomery to Covenant to be the medic at the town was a mistake. He says that Montgomery is far more important here in the compound than back at Covenant giving, quote, scavers checkups. When you exit the office, follow the path, and then turn right, you come upon the final chamber in this lab. In the back of the room, we find 3 cages, one of which has a woman inside, and then standing next to a chemistry bench is a woman wearing goggles. This is the leader of the compound, Rosalind Chambers.
And here you are. My life's work on the verge of ruin, all because of your efforts to find Stockton's supposed daughter. You do know she's most likely a synth, yes? If you are more than a hired gun, perhaps we can stop this before it's too late.
I'll give you a fair hearing.
How considerate. What would you do if your family was destroyed by a synth right in front of you when you were but a child? Would you roll over and accept it? Or would you do something about it?
What happened to you?
In Diamond City, a lifetime ago, my parents and 8 others were massacred by someone. At first, we thought the maniac was human. But that was the day we learned of the Institute's latest creations, the synths. As long as the Institute walks invisibly amongst us, they strike without warning and control us from the shadows. I've dedicated my life to devising a test to detect these hidden synths, to root them out so they can be extinguished. Isn't that a goal worth fighting for?
You can't seriously want to kill all the synths.
We most certainly do, but we have to find them first. A living synth is indistinguishable from a human by any medical test yet devised. But it turns out psychology can detect a difference. Enter the safe test. The test is in its infancy, but through sacrifice and perseverance, our success rate is improving.
And the safe test works?
Oh, yes. Autopsies confirm the test is getting more accurate. There's something in the questions which provokes a response from synth, but the exact trigger is elusive. The margin of error is admittedly high, 4 or 5 false positives per synth, but one day we hope to get it to 1 or 2 false positives.
It sounds like your test may not even work.
There is a correlation. We've measured it. We just need more data, more test subjects to narrow it down. Covenant is many things. A refuge for the broken people left in the wake of the Institute's rampages. A place of safety and healing. But most importantly, It is our one chance to end this age of paranoia. I will make you a deal. If you let me dispose of Stockton's synth and continue our work, I'll match whatever reward you were offered.
I've had my fill of crazy on this contract. No deal.
Fortunate for me, I wasn't talking to you.
You side with this nut job, and we're going to have a serious, deadly problem.
Are you threatening me, Dan?
I have myself a code. That's not always good on my wallet, but it helps me sleep at night. I took this contract, and I will honor it, even if I have to kill you to do it.
Covenant's a refuge?
Over the years, we've recruited like-minded individuals, all of our lives shattered by the Institute. Covenant is primarily about administering and refining the safe test, but some consider the humanitarian side equally as important. If you destroy what's left here, their lives will be upended again.
That's a deal I won't accept.
Then you'll just have to kill me.
At this point, you can either let her continue with her work or kill her.
You're already dead.
Amelia Stockton is in a locked cage at the very top. Inside, there's actually a Tesla trap. This is what they used to torture her with electricity. She claims to high heaven and back that she is not a synth.
I'm Amelia Stockton. I'm not a synth.
How can I be sure?
Please, you have to believe me. I'm a human being just like you. My father, Old Man Stockton, he will reward you. Just let me out. Please.
You can unlock the cell door with your lockpicking skill, or if you don't have one, head on down to the terminal in Rosalind Chambers' work area. From here, you can unlock all of the cages. You also find more terminal entries. Here we learn that just as we thought, Brian Fitzgerald at Covenant is upset that the compound extraction team killed the Stockton caravan so close to Covenant. Rosalind Chambers recommends that they lay low for a little bit until things cool down. We also learn that the compound seizes the assets of all of the people that they kidnap as a way to continue to fund the compound, its research, and Covenant, because Covenant is working at a loss. Rosalind says, I do not need a degree in socioeconomics to realize that Covenant's trade policies are unsustainable. Patty Fitzgerald at the general store is giving things away far too cheaply. This has been great at getting people to Covenant so that they can kidnap more people for the experiments, but it's unsustainable. As soon as they can't afford it anymore, they're going to be raising their prices in the general store. The final terminal shows us exactly why Covenant was founded. Rosalind Chambers says, quote, Covenant was designed from the ground up to attract visitors. And it is working. They're kidnapping more people, getting a larger data pool, which is helping them refine the safe test. One of the researchers, Emmanuel Rogers, says that Covenant is a mistake. It's exposing the compound to too much risk, which as the sole survivor you know, because you're there and you just destroyed everything. So Emmanuel Rogers is actually correct in this case. But Rosalind Chambers was willing to take the risk to get a larger data pool, to refine the safe test, and she thinks that Covenant is a great cover because it helps fool the Institute. Once you unlock the cell door, you can talk with Honest Dan and complete the quest.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm free.
So Stockton gets his daughter and we get paid. Not a bad day.
What if she's a synth?
If even after all they've done to her, they don't know if she's a synth or not, I figure she's human enough. Here's your cut of the reward. I'll get my half from Stockton. Been a pleasure.
Be safe, Dan.
Same to you.
Alternatively, if you're a member of the Railroad and you've completed the quest Boston After Dark, you can go to Bunker Hill and talk with Old Man Stockton directly about his daughter. It is here that we learn that Amelia Stockton actually is a synth.
There you are. You're the one that rescued my daughter, yes? I hadn't asked for help from our mutual friends, but I'm glad you were there, nonetheless.
Dr. Chambers said Amelia was a synth. Was she right?
Keep it down. Amelia's a synth, though even she doesn't know that. After what she went through with those monsters, maybe she suspects. But there's nothing to be done about that now. A runner has already picked her up. Hopefully the poor girl finds a safe new home.
She's an escaped synth that the Railroad rescued. They wiped her mind, but Old Man Stockton took pity on her and told her that he was her father. He adopted her, and so as far as he's concerned, even though she is a synth, she's still his daughter. Or, if you don't want to talk with Old Man Stockton, you can always kill Amelia Stockton and loot her synth component.
Continue your work, then.
I wish you hadn't said that.
Area
What a
secured.
distasteful business. First, the loose end.
What? What are you doing?
I'm certain the autopsy will confirm my hypothesis.
No!
There. As promised, you'll find Covenant has a lot more to offer since we've come to this understanding.
If you chose to kill Rosalind Chambers and end her career kidnapping people, torturing them, and then executing them, when you return to Covenant, the entire town is hostile, with the exception of Deezer. If you kill them all, you gain access to the workshop, and you can turn Covenant into a settlement. That's what I did in my Railroad playthrough, and I recorded a video of my Covenant settlement build, which you can watch here. If, on the other hand, you choose to spare the life of Rosalind Chambers because for some reason you think she's doing the right thing or whatever, if you come back to Covenant, everybody is still friendly with you, and you can continue to use their merchants and the medic. So, which of these options is the morally right one? Well, it's clear that Dr. Rosalind Chambers is a damaged individual. She truly suffered tragedy during the Broken Mask incident. Years ago, when the Institute was working on their Gen 3 synths, one of the synths that visited Diamond City malfunctioned. It wasn't the Institute's fault. This synth went on a killing rampage and murdered citizens in Diamond City, including Rosalind Chambers' family, killing her parents right before her eyes when she was a child. Now, even though this was an accident by the Institute, the effects of this event are undeniable. It scarred this poor girl for life, and she grew up to be an old woman with a deep hatred for the Institute. This passion led her to form a cause, and this cause of hers was so great in her mind that she was willing to do absolutely anything to try and prevent the Institute from ever killing another human being. Now, on one hand, that is a noble goal, but on the other hand, this cause of hers leads her to ignore basic human empathy. In an effort to discover and wipe out synths, she kidnaps, tortures, and murders real human beings. Now, I think that synths are people too, so kidnapping and murdering synths is just as bad. But even if you don't think that synths are people, even if you think that they're just robots, that they are just machines, she's still killing living human beings. In her mind, the ends justifies the means, and that is something that some of the greatest tyrants throughout human history have used to justify their atrocities. That line of thinking is unacceptable in a civilized world. Now, I realize that Fallout 4 takes place in an uncivil world, but the only way to restore civility, to restore society, is to be civil when others are not, is to be moral when others are not, is to build a just society via your own actions in the hope that it'll inspire others to do the same, which will lead to a forever imperfect but at least more just world. That, of course, is something the Minutemen stand for. They are rebuilding society. They're trying to make the world better for everyone, synths and settlers. So for someone siding with the Minutemen, I think it's clear. You have to stop Rosalind Chambers. You have to stop the murder of human beings. If you side with the Railroad, the solution is equally clear. Old Man Stockton is a member of the Railroad. Amelia Stockton is his adoptive synth daughter. As an agent of the Railroad, you can't let Rosalind Chambers continue with her mission. You must wipe her out. Now, the footage you just watched came from my Institute character. With this character, I typically choose the evil options because I'm role-playing an evil Institute character. So I was tempted to allow Rosalind Chambers to live, but as a member of the Institute, who views all synths as Institute property, I think Father would have a problem with some rogue scientist trying to kill all of the synths that his Institute has created. That is permanently damaging valuable Institute property. So for my synth playthrough, I chose to kill Rosalind Chambers, not because my character loved humanity, but because she just didn't want her valuable property destroyed. Now for the Brotherhood of Steel, things are a bit different. Like Rosalind Chambers, the Brotherhood has a cause, and they are almost fanatical about that cause. Part of that cause is to hate technology that has run amok, and that includes synths. they will do whatever they can. They will do whatever they need to destroy wayward technology and to destroy anything that reminds them of it, whatever the cost. The Brotherhood of Steel very clearly has an ends justifies the means worldview. So for my Brotherhood character, I chose to leave Rosalind Chambers alive. In this way, she is still out there in the Commonwealth doing good for the Brotherhood. Perhaps someday she really will develop a psychological test that is effective at identifying synths. Then the Brotherhood could incorporate that into their recruitment policies so that they can make sure that they never recruit a synth into their ranks. For the Brotherhood, I think Rosalind Chambers is more useful left alive rather than killed. Of course, outside the morality of the game, outside the factions and all of their interests, in my opinion, the most moral option is to kill Rosalind Chambers so that she never takes a father away from another child. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is just one man's opinion. I would love to know your opinion. What did you think of the human error quest and the Covenant and the compound? What decision did you make? Did you like Covenant as a settlement? And did you make sure to get the unique weapons and armor off of Patty's inventory before you killed her? Let me know in the comment section below. I read all of your comments and I use them as inspiration for my new videos, so your best bet at getting me to make a video just for you is to make a request in the comments below. Be sure to check the description of this video where I include an invitation link to join my Oxhorn community Discord server where you can chat with other Oxhorn viewers, find groups, and talk a bit more about Fallout 4 lore. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. Patreon subscribers gain access to a private channel on my Discord server just for them, as well as a bunch of other cool Oxhorn perks. But more than anything, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just so glad that you're here watching this video today. Thank you so much for watching from the bottom of my heart, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.